There aren't too many names bigger in sci-fi than Alien or Predator. Back in the day, people wanted any excuse to have these awesome franchises together. While they may have gotten what they wished for, there are of course mixed results. Of course we all know about the AVP movies. While the first one is a silly yet okay enough movie that you can laugh at, the second one would have to be in my top 5 worst movies of all time. I mean, holy shit is that movie bad. I'll be putting on Resurrection before I ever go near that pile of shit again. Back before those movies came out to disappoint the masses, however, you could always rely on the AVP games to give that fix that you've been oh so desperate for. 3 games being released between 1994 and 2001. First attempt released on the ill-fated Atari Jaguar. While it is one of the more well-liked games for the system, people never really bought into what Atari had going on in the 90s. The other 2 games being PC releases were able to reach a much wider audience, however, and were able to leave a lasting impression on gamers in their heyday. So I briefly mentioned in my last review about how hardcore this game was with its gore, and how it only got an MA15 rating when it got released. Well, funnily enough, the Australian Classification Board initially refused to even give it a rating. That's right, this game was initially going to be outright banned in Australia, and brought up the issue of the country desperately needing an R18+ rating for games. Sega managed to appeal the decision and have the game released unaltered, which is pretty impressive, and left 14-year-old me pretty happy as I was ready to rip some spines out. Now this game coming out when it did meant Colonial Marines got pushed back. That was much needed development time for that to be the well-polished, finished product that we eventually got. Or we'll be forgiven if you just give us the finished Dreamcast Half-Life, Randy. Now while that game might have been a complete disaster, AVP 2010 didn't exactly win over the critics either, scoring mostly average reviews on release. So I want to take a look at it with some fresh eyes and give my view on it in 2023. Anyway, let's take a look. Alright, so when it comes to this game, let's just say the positives that people list off usually don't involve the story. But let's have a suss. AVP is split into 3 campaigns, and here we'll start with the Marines story, as it's going to need the most explaining.
Begin. How old do you think it is? 10,000? 100,000?
We start with a scene at this massive Predator temple, where Wayland himself is there with a team to crack open this big door. Once the door opens, a huge force comes through, pushing Wayland back and sending a huge beam of light into the sky. Straight off the bat, this is telling me one thing. Lance Henriksen really needed the money from this gig, and his Landroom delivery isn't doing this game any favours. Anyway, we cut to a dropship where we see a huge Predator ship appear, and I guess Wayland pissed them off, and the Predator ship takes out the Marine ship in the distance. We're about to get hit by the blast wave, so we brace for impact, and after a rough landing, we're on the planet. Here we're introduced to Tequila, who was helping us get around, and I hope you like being called Rookie. It appears we're there for a bit of a bug hunt, but we black out during the initial firefight and wake up afterwards to Tequila giving us some directions over the radio. We start to make our way through the colony to meet up back with her, get our first taste of the damage caused by the Xenos. This early section for the Marine campaign is a masterclass in building tension as you keep waiting for the first encounter with the alien. The atmosphere is just amazing.
Well, in new time, building better worlds.
After doing a system reset in one of the rooms, we finally face off with our first alien. After a bit of messing about, we of course kick its ass. Eventually we meet up with Tequila, but pretty quickly we get a call out from a separate unit in one of the clubs. We're quite the party animal, so it's time to go give him some backup. We hear things turn pear-shaped on our way there, and when we go in we can only find signs of Xenos and Predators. This of course turns into a firefight for us, and after we get out of there, we meet up with some of the Marines.
You had yourself quite a party back there. Glad you made it.
It doesn't take long for the defenses to be overrun. We gotta get the hell out of there. Everyone else is dead, so we've gotta head out through the sewers. Solo. Once we're topside, we're back to running errands for Tequila, and need to establish an uplink to the refinery. Along the way, we start to encounter facehuggers, but they ain't getting none of this, so we push through and point the dish to the colony. After we activate the control room computer in the refinery, we see a brief glimpse of the cutscene at the start of the game. Somehow. It's always funny when games and movies do this sort of shit. They just use video from the scene, but they never actually establish anyone filming it. Anyway, we find the Major from the dropship at the start of the game, and he's in a pretty bad way, so we put him down. We have to get out of the refinery, but the only way out is through the hive. I love how they did that. That looks so fucking cool. Fuck. Ah, fuck fuck? So we make our way through, but as expected, we run into our good pal, the Alien Queen, who is very conveniently placed next to some fuel tanks. So we tell her to stay right where she is and sort her out in what is a decent enough early boss fight. After this, we're in the jungle. While Tequila is on her way to pick us up with a typhoon, we manage to send our location, but a predator spots the ship and shoots it down, so now we have to traverse through the jungle. We're contacted on the radio by a woman named Katia, who says she is the administrator for the colony, can help us get to Tequila. Of course, she needs us to get data for her. The predator shoots at us briefly, but we're able to escape, after which Katia tells us Wayland is up to no good.
Mate, you're telling me Wayland's actually a piece of shit? Fuck, should have known.
Once we leave the jungle, we are faced with combat androids, who are none too keen about our presence, so we've got to battle through them. And eventually we find the dropship, and a smart gun, which is fucking sick! In one of the battle arenas, we spot a predator, who's getting a bit handsy with one of the marines before disappearing. When he finally does show back up, he surprises us, and throws us into the arena for a showdown. We get through this fight pretty quickly with some quick firing with the sniper rifle, then it's off to get Tequila from the hive. When we find her, she's already been impregnated, but Katia informs us that she can help us get the Xeno out of her and we can get to her on time, so we're racing against the clock. We make our way to the research facility, and are faced with Wayland on a screen telling us to leave, but we ain't about that, so we make our way through.
My name is Carl Bishop Whalen, and this is my facility. All you have to do is leave, and I give you my word you will not be pursued. At least, not by any of my personnel.
We're of course met with some resistance, having to fight some more droids, but we make short work of them and carry on. Further in the facility, we see the rooms for experimenting with the Xenos. Luckily they're holding them in for now while we make our way to Katia. When we finally do make it, however, we are interrupted by Wayland once again, who confronts Katia, who we find out to be an android. Wayland shuts down the power before we can help Tequila, so we have to put her in cryosleep until we can get her help.
And please, don't use the term artificial person. I prefer to be called what I am, an android.
Haha, yeah, I get it. The only way out for us now is to get to the device for the dropship that Wayland has, so we're off to go fuck him up. Making our way down to the elevator, we get confronted by a big motherfucker, who we take out in an easy enough little boss fight. And we make our way down to the temple. This section is the last big barrage of Xenos that we have to deal with in the game, and provides a decent enough little challenge. Generally, these sorts of parts have been harder than the actual boss fights. When we do clear this arena, Wayland decides to be a little more inviting, and we make our way through to confront him. He gets the drop on us and has a little villain speech, but we manage to get free and make our assault. We get a brief fight with Wayland, who we take out pretty quickly, but before we can get out of there, he stops us one last time, so we shoot him in the head, only to find out that he's actually an android. After that, we of course get out of there, but the twist is the real Wayland is communicating with the people on the dropship while our characters are sleeping. He now has the data he needs to find the Xenomorph homeworld.
Centuries for the coordinates to the Xenomorph homeworld.
I don't really mind this story. It kind of works for what it is. It's this shit gone wrong, get the hell out of there thing, and it only has a few hours to tell it to you anyway. It's not perfect, but it's hardly offensive. Anyway, let's move on to the Alien campaign.
Please! Somebody! Help me!
So the Alien campaign starts within the birth chamber for a new batch of Xenos at the research facility. All is going well until they notice one of the Xenos has managed to escape by burrowing back into its host, instead coming out of their mouth. The scientists freak out. However, Wayland doesn't want the Xeno dead, but instead he wants to observe it further, and has it branded with a number 6, and in a great transition we see the move to adulthood. This is where we take control of number 6 and are tested on our abilities with a few guinea pigs that they lead to us. We attempt to escape, however that is not an option for us, and we are gassed in the process. After a stern talking to by Groves, the fella in charge, we see on the screen Wayland about to open the Predator Temple door. After which the huge power surge caused by it releases our restraints. Now it's time for our big escape. We free our siblings, and make our assault through the facility to free the Queen. Once we hit the gate switch, the Xenos are able to escape into the jungle.
I kind of like this setup. It's like a better version of what we got in Alien Resurrection.
From here it cuts to the Marines' arrival, and we continue on from the sewers, breaking through any resistance to cut the power, make it further into the facility. Making our way through to the machine room, we take down the Marines one by one, and harvest the civilians. Finally, we make our own exit through the mines. Now we're in the jungle to disrupt communication lines. Check out this bugger giving us a hand.
Don't let your guard down.
Fast. I'm doing my part too.
Anyway, we fuck up their radio antenna, kill all the surrounding soldiers before moving to the next base, where we fuck up some more shit, and now the Queen wants us back at the Hive. We start to head there through the Predator's ancient ruins. Eventually we run into two Predators, which we battle it out with the help from a few of our friends. After they're sorted out, we have to take down the big boss, the Elite Predator, but instead of killing him, we use him as a host for a Pred alien.
Fuck, that's a stupid name.
While heading back to the Hive, the Queen is destroyed and we become weakened. Wayland tells the androids to capture us rather than kill us and take us back to the base. This is shown to be an incredibly stupid thing to do as we have broken free, and our story ends with us as a queen, ready to get freaky.
Yeah, this feels a bit cut short. Like, I really would have liked these events to actually happen in the game. I mean, I had this really great setup, and then after that it just kind of has nothing to tell you. Anyway, I've been saving the best for last. Let's move on to the Predator campaign.
So our story starts off with a tutorial, and yeah, who am I kidding? There's no fucking plot here.
Show up as the cleanup crew, and at the end you fight the Pred alien. There's absolutely nothing else that you're missing out on. Moving on. In the long list of Alien and Predator games, this is still the most brutal. I mean, Alien Isolation brought the scares, but when it comes to gore, this is the reigning champion.
The Marine campaign has some nice head pops and dismemberments, which is what you'd be expecting from your Alien vs Predator horror action game in 2010. However, as far as insane shit goes, it's totally outshined by some horrific, how was I able to buy this at 14 without apparent present violence in the other campaigns. As the Predator, you're going to be cutting heads off and ripping spines out in a few lovely and creative ways, as well as blowing cunts up with that shoulder gun thingy. Ooh. The Alien doesn't let itself be outclassed, however, with its violence easily feeling the most horrific. You'll still be cutting heads off, but we've got butt-fucking rape attacks and harvesting to go along with it. The sheer terror as you grab a victim and have a facehugger jump on them definitely takes it to the next level of fuckedness. These attacks aren't exactly perfect, however, as you can still be easily attacked while performing them. Doing it at the wrong time can result in a pretty hard to avoid death, as you can't really cancel mid-attack. It's definitely a case of looking awesome, but not really being a good option all the time. Violence aside, the game overall looks pretty amazing, with some cool environments and some excellent lighting. Playing as a Marine in these dark areas definitely has tension, as the aliens tend to move around in the darkness on the walls. Really, I probably enjoyed the Marine campaign the most, as it plays well, the weapons are fun to use, and the environments and sound design really suck me into the world. The story won't blow you away. No boy do the facial animations leave a bit to be desired, but it's the best Aliens Colonial Marines cam that we got. The boss fights are hit or miss, but at least the AI isn't completely broken. I only had one enemy get stuck, so I'll let it slide. The 2 weapons plus pistol limit works fine for this game, as it's a short campaign and there aren't really many weapons anyway. You do have to swap out both main weapons for the smart gun, but this didn't raise any issues and those sections were fun.
The shittest part about the Marines mechanics, it's also the shittest part about the others, so see if you can guess it before I mention it later in the video.
The Alien campaign is a clear second for me, but it still has a lot going for it. Running up the walls is cool, even if it can be a bit disorientating. The stealth is well implemented into the game. Hiding in the vents is a good way to get around. It can help you with surprise attacks. You can distract the Marines to separate them, which is often the best method in a busy space, but the movement is quick enough if you need to hide quickly. The boss fights with the Predators are okay enough, but stealth is where the Alien levels excel. I just wish they recorded a few more lines for the Marines to say when they're suspicious. It does take you out of the game a bit when they just constantly say, "Don't let your guard down." It's really quite comical, and as you can guess, this is also a problem with the Predator levels.
Now the Predator campaign is the third out of the bunch for me, but not because it's bad. It's because it's just a bit fucking average.
The weapons are cool, the heat vision is neat, and it's fun sneaking around while cloaked. But without any engaging story to round out the 3 parts, you're just kind of left with stiff gameplay that, while fun at times, is just a bit okay. I also don't think I was supposed to be able to beat this alien queen by just standing on this tower and throwing a disc at it. Overall, the Predator needed a lot more polish, but there's still fun to be had. You will have fun throwing discs at a group of aliens, and headshotting enemies with a spear while staying hidden is cool. It just needed more.
I could forgive the average quality if there was one small thing that they took out of the game, and that's that fucking short sprint that it forces on you in all the campaigns.
This is one of those trends that infected too many games back then, and made absolutely no fucking sense to put it in this one. If it was just the Marines levels, it would be shit, but it would kind of make sense for the time it was made. But they put it in all the campaigns. It's just a bafflingly stupid decision. Like, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? For a game managing to do a lot right to make it feel authentic, this is an impressively bad misstep. It really holds the game back. But that could be how you describe a lot of this game. While it's not a bad game, the combination of game mechanics that need more fleshing out and others that date it so heavily to the period, it just leaves you left with a game that's a wasted opportunity to stand out for more than just its violence. Anyway, I think I need to wrap things up before I keep ranting.
This game's a weird one for me. I do remember being disappointed back at launch when it wasn't the greatest game ever made, but I still do get some enjoyment out of it when I revisit it every couple of years.
There's a lot to praise with AVP 2010. While it gets bogged down by some questionable mechanics and some extremely linear level design, it's got enough there to say Rebellion actually kind of tried. We keep holding out for some perfect modern action horror experience for these franchises, but they just can't seem to get it right. And here we're left with a jack of all trades, master of kinda one of them.
Every time I come back to this game, I always draw to the same conclusion. It's decent. And putting aside all the things that hold it back, I still think it deserves a 7 out of 10. If the gameplay was a little bit more polished and the story was a little bit more fleshed out, it could have been so much more. But it's alright as it stands. Anyway, that's all from me today. I'll catch you next time.